Samsara, an endless journey. In Eastern philosophical traditions, particularly in Buddhism and certain schools of Hinduism, samsara is understood as the endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth into different realms, governed by the karmic forces accumulated through one's actions, words, and thoughts. Samsara is neither purely a punishment nor entirely a reward. It is the natural result of the law of cause and effect, karma, intricately woven into the existence of all sentient beings. The 6 realms of rebirth, known as the 6 realms of samsara, include the heaven realm, devas; the asura realm, jealous gods; the human realm; the animal realm; the hungry ghost realm; the hell realm. Each realm has its own unique characteristics of pleasure, suffering, wisdom, and ignorance. Yet, regardless of where a being is reborn, none can escape the fundamental nature of samsara without the aid of one critical factor: wisdom, prajna. In this endless journey, wisdom is not merely a tool but the sole guiding light capable of illuminating the darkness of ignorance and ultimately leading beings toward liberation and enlightenment. What, then, is the true role of wisdom in the journey through samsara? Why does the absence of wisdom ensure our perpetual entrapment in suffering? And how can wisdom be cultivated amid the temptations of desire, anger, and delusion? These questions will be explored in depth in the following section. The role of wisdom in the journey through samsara. 1. Wisdom, fundamental definition and meaning. In Eastern teachings, particularly in Buddhist philosophy, wisdom, prajna, is far more profound than mere intellectual brilliance or sharp reasoning. Here wisdom refers to the ability to perceive reality as it truly is, yathapajanati, a clear understanding that all phenomena are impermanent, anicca, without a self, anatta, and inherently unsatisfactory, dukkha. When wisdom is awakened, beings no longer perceive the world through the distorted lenses of craving, attachment, or fear. Instead, they observe phenomena exactly as they are, arising and passing away, forming and disintegrating, appearing and vanishing, moment by moment. This direct insight into reality forms the foundation for true liberation. 2. Samsara, the inevitable result of ignorance. If wisdom is light, then ignorance, avidya, is darkness. In the teaching of the 12 links of dependent origination, Paikasamupta, a core principle explaining the mechanics of samsara, ignorance stands as the first cause. It is because beings do not see the true nature of existence that they cling to the notion of a self, ego view, crave possession and sensory experiences, feel aversion when facing loss and suffering, and thus continue creating karmic conditions, weaving the fabric of their future lives. Without wisdom, beings are like blind wanderers in the night, led astray by instincts, desires, and delusions, unable to find the path to freedom. Thus, wisdom is not only a means but an absolute necessity for breaking free from the cycle of samsara. 3. Wisdom, the bridge across the ocean of suffering. In Buddhist scriptures, wisdom is often symbolized as a great ship ferrying sentient beings across the vast ocean of suffering toward the shore of nirvana. As wisdom develops, the practitioner realizes that all conditioned phenomena are in constant flux. They come to see that what is called self, this body, these emotions, these thoughts, are nothing more than a temporary aggregation of 5 skandhas, aggregates. And because all things are impermanent, clinging to anything inevitably results in suffering. From this insight, the practitioner lets go, relinquishing craving and fear. Though still living in the world, they are no longer bound by it. They move freely amidst birth and death, at ease even in suffering, like a lotus that blooms pure and untouched above the muddy water. 4. Cultivating wisdom, the path of practice. Wisdom cannot be attained merely through theoretical knowledge or book learning. It must be experienced, cultivated, and realized through deliberate practice. Hearing, Rava listening to and studying the true teachings concerning impermanence, suffering, and non-self. Contemplation, Sinta deeply reflecting upon and critically analyzing these teachings against one's direct life experiences. Meditation, Bhavana calming the mind and directly observing the arising and passing away of phenomena in meditative absorption. Through the progressive cultivation of hearing, contemplation, and meditation, wisdom takes deep root and matures, gradually leading the practitioner beyond the torrential current of samsara. Interim conclusion. Wisdom is not a miraculous gift bestowed by fate, it is the fruit of unwavering diligence in learning, contemplation, and direct experience. Without wisdom, even beings in the highest heavenly realms or the most fortunate human circumstances remain trapped in the cycle of suffering. Only when wisdom is fully awakened can the wheel of birth and death come to a halt, and the gateway to liberation truly open. First, the core lies in intention, not merely outer appearance. According to Buddhist teachings, an action is considered wholesome not simply because it appears good or is praised by others. The true nature of an action lies in the intention behind it. When the mind is free from greed, hatred, and delusion, when an action aims to reduce suffering, nurture wisdom, and foster compassion, then that action is truly wholesome. Conversely, if the action stems from greed, anger, or ignorance, even if it appears virtuous externally, its nature remains unwholesome. Second, 3 domains: body, speech, and mind. In daily life, our actions express themselves through 3 main channels: body, actions performed physically; speech, actions through words; mind, actions formed in thoughts and intentions. Regarding bodily actions, wholesome deeds include protecting life, helping others, and maintaining ethical conduct. Unwholesome bodily actions involve harming others, stealing, or engaging in sexual misconduct. Regarding speech, wholesome speech is truthful, gentle, constructive, and beneficial. Unwholesome speech includes lying, slandering, using harsh words, and gossiping meaninglessly. Regarding the mind, wholesome thoughts are rooted in generosity, loving kindness, and right understanding. Unwholesome thoughts arise from greed, hatred, and wrong views. Third, practical examples, distinguishing by motivation. For example, if someone donates money to charity, and their motivation is genuine compassion and a sincere wish to help others, then that is a wholesome action. However, if the same donation is made for the sake of fame, recognition, or personal gain, then, despite its outward appearance, the action is unwholesome in essence. Another example, offering advice to others. If the advice stems from a true wish to help, it is wholesome. But if, deep down, the intention is to belittle, manipulate, or outshine others, then the action becomes unwholesome, even if the advice sounds positive. Fourth, the consequences, karma and results. Every action we perform plants a seed in our stream of consciousness. Wholesome actions plant seeds that lead to happiness, clarity, and liberation. Unwholesome actions plant seeds that lead to suffering, confusion, and continued rebirth in the cycle of samsara. The Buddha taught, beings are the owners of their actions, heirs to their actions. Their actions are the womb from which they are born, their actions are their refuge. Whatever actions they perform, wholesome or unwholesome, they will inherit the results. Thus, each action we perform, even seemingly small, has a profound impact on our future. Conclusion: why distinguishing good and bad actions matters. Learning to distinguish between wholesome and unwholesome actions is not merely about adhering to moral norms. More importantly, it empowers us to consciously choose the seeds we plant, liberate ourselves from the chains of suffering, and progress toward enlightenment. Understanding clearly, choosing wisely. This is the first step in taking true responsibility for our destiny. When we talk about suffering, one of the fundamental and important questions in human life is, why must humans endure suffering? In Buddhism, suffering is not a random event but the result of deep-rooted causes. The Buddha explained these causes through the teachings of the Four Noble Truths, which include the truth of suffering and the truth of the cause of suffering. Today, we will dive into understanding the origins of suffering and how these causes can be eliminated to achieve freedom and liberation. 1. The truth of suffering, dukkha. First and foremost, the Buddha pointed out that suffering is an inevitable part of life. Suffering is not only physical pain such as illness, accidents, or death, but also mental anguish, disappointment, anxiety, loss, and separation. Even when we attain the things we desire, we still feel dissatisfaction or fear of loss. Thus, the constant sense of dissatisfaction and the ceaseless change in life are the root causes of suffering. Suffering is an inherent part of the human experience, but suffering is not something that cannot be overcome. The Buddha teaches that if we understand the origins of suffering, we can transcend it. 2. The origins of suffering, ignorance, avidya. Ignorance, or delusion, is the first and most important source of all suffering. Ignorance means a lack of understanding of the true nature of life, of what is real, of the impermanent nature of everything. Because of ignorance, humans fail to see that all phenomena are impermanent, and clinging to transient things only leads to suffering. In Buddhist scriptures, ignorance is described as the root of all afflictions. Ignorance gives rise to craving, desire, and aversion, hatred, which entraps us in the cycle of samsara, the cycle of birth and rebirth, without end. Ignorance causes us to be blind, unable to perceive the truth, and we keep chasing things that do not bring lasting happiness. 3. Craving, desire, and aversion, hatred. The next two factors, craving and aversion, both stem from ignorance. When we fail to recognize the true nature of things, we easily cling to transient things. Craving is the excessive desire for material things, power, fame, or temporary happiness. Aversion is anger, hatred, or ill will toward things we dislike or cannot obtain. When craving and aversion dominate the mind, we lose our clarity and cannot perceive objective truths. For example, when we crave something, we strive to attain it at all costs, without considering the negative consequences. Similarly, when we are filled with hatred, we may act impulsively and destroy relationships, causing more suffering. 4. Impermanence and attachment. We fall into suffering when we fail to realize that everything is impermanent, everything changes, nothing lasts forever. We cling to things outside ourselves, whether material possessions or relationships, because we desire to maintain them indefinitely. However, attachment is the root cause of suffering. When we lose the things we hold dear, we feel loss and suffering. This is why suffering constantly arises in our lives, as everything around us changes, and we cannot control it. 5. The path to the cessation of suffering, nirvana. The Buddha not only explained suffering but also laid out the path to the cessation of suffering through the practice of the Noble Eightfold Path. This path includes right view, right understanding of life and the nature of suffering. Right thought, right thinking, abandoning craving, aversion, and delusion. Right speech, avoiding falsehoods, harsh words, and gossip. Right action, ethical actions, refraining from killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct. Right livelihood, earning a living through righteous means. Right effort, diligence and effort in practice, maintaining a clear mind. Right mindfulness, awareness of self and the world around us. Right concentration, meditation, allowing the mind to rest in the present. Conclusion. In conclusion, the origins of suffering lie in ignorance, craving, and aversion, which are nourished by our failure to recognize the impermanent nature of the world. While suffering is an unavoidable part of life, through right understanding and the practice of Buddhist methods, we can reduce suffering and move toward liberation. In our journey towards spiritual development and enlightenment, we often come across the terms faith and understanding. These two concepts, while seemingly distinct, are deeply interconnected in the path to wisdom and liberation. In Buddhism, the proper relationship between faith and understanding is not only central to practice but also vital to transcending ignorance and achieving true insight. Today, we will explore the relationship between faith and understanding, two essential pillars on the path to enlightenment. How do they work together, and how do they complement each other in a way that leads us toward wisdom and liberation? 1. What is faith in Buddhism? In the Buddhist context, faith does not mean blind belief or acceptance without question. Rather, it is a trust in the Buddha, the Dhamma, the teachings, and the Sangha, the community of practitioners. This faith arises from a deep conviction in the possibility of awakening and the recognition that the path laid out by the Buddha leads to liberation from suffering. Faith is essential in the beginning stages of the spiritual path, as it provides the initial motivation and confidence to practice. It is through faith that we begin to commit ourselves to the path, even if we may not fully understand all of its intricacies at first. It is through faith that we can take the first steps toward the transformative power of the Buddhist teachings. 2. What is understanding, panna? Understanding, in Buddhism, refers to wisdom or insight into the true nature of reality. It is the ability to see things as they truly are, understanding the impermanent, unsatisfactory, and interdependent nature of all phenomena. Understanding begins with the Four Noble Truths, which describe the nature of suffering and the path to its cessation, and evolves through the practice of meditation, ethical conduct, and mindfulness. Understanding is not simply intellectual knowledge. True understanding arises from direct experience and insight gained through meditation and reflection. It is the fruit of personal practice, where the practitioner sees the truth for themselves, not just as an abstract concept. 3. The interplay between faith and understanding. At first glance, faith and understanding may seem like two separate entities. Faith can be understood as trust in the teachings and guidance of the Buddha, while understanding is the result of direct insight into those teachings. However, they are intimately connected and mutually supportive on the path to enlightenment. Faith as the foundation. Faith provides the foundation for understanding. In the beginning, we may not fully understand the profound teachings of the Buddha. However, by placing our faith in the Buddha's teachings, we are motivated to practice and apply them in our lives. This initial faith in the path is necessary as it gives us the confidence to move forward even when we cannot see immediate results. Without faith, it would be difficult to engage in the practice, as the teachings would remain theoretical and distant. Understanding strengthens faith. As we progress on the spiritual path and gain insights through meditation, contemplation, and practice, our understanding deepens. The more we understand the truth of the teachings through personal experience, the more our faith is strengthened. Understanding brings us closer to the realization that the Buddha's teachings are not mere abstract ideas, but practical tools for transforming our lives. This deepening of understanding transforms our faith into a more profound and unshakable trust in the teachings as we begin to see the truth for ourselves. Faith and understanding as complementary. The relationship between faith and understanding can be compared to the dynamic between the seed and the tree. Faith is like the seed, it provides the initial energy and potential for growth. Understanding is like the tree, it emerges and grows as we water the seed with practice and insight. Together, they lead to the full blossoming of wisdom and liberation. 4. The role of faith in overcoming doubt. Doubt is a common obstacle on the spiritual path. When we are unsure of the efficacy of the teachings or unsure about our own ability to practice, doubt can arise. Faith helps to counterbalance this doubt by trusting in the teachings. Even when we do not fully understand them, we give ourselves the opportunity to experience their benefits firsthand. Summary: the interrelationship between faith and understanding in Buddhism. In summary, the concepts of faith and understanding are deeply intertwined in the Buddhist path toward enlightenment. Each plays a vital role in the practitioner's spiritual journey, and together, they form a harmonious relationship that supports growth, transformation, and liberation from suffering. Faith in Buddhism is not about blind belief, it is trust in the Buddha's teachings and the recognition of the potential for awakening. It serves as the initial foundation, motivating practitioners to take the first steps toward the path of wisdom. Understanding, panna, on the other hand, is the wisdom that arises from direct experience and insight into the true nature of reality. It is cultivated through meditation, mindfulness, and ethical conduct, transforming abstract teachings into lived experiences. The relationship between these two elements is one of mutual support. Faith leads us to take the first steps on the path, even when we do not fully understand the teachings. As we practice and gain insight, our understanding deepens, which in turn strengthens our faith. This cycle of growth leads to a deeper, more informed, and unwavering trust in the path of the Buddha. The balance between faith and understanding is key. Blind faith without understanding can lead to superstition or stagnation, while understanding without faith can lead to confusion or doubt. Thus, both faith and understanding must grow together, complementing and reinforcing one another throughout the journey. Ultimately, as faith and understanding evolve and strengthen together, they lead the practitioner toward true wisdom, greater compassion, and the ultimate liberation from suffering. This relationship between faith and understanding serves as the cornerstone of spiritual development in Buddhism. As we continue practicing, may we cultivate both, allowing them to support each other on the path to enlightenment.